Do you know what was the most profitable business in ancient times? It was not a tavern, nor was it a food stall, but a tofu shop that carried eggs and walked the streets. Don't think that life is miserable. In fact, life is full of hardships. You are a refugee who fled to Beijing. 3 years ago, your parents starved to death by the roadside. You carried half a generation of fermented soybeans and stayed at the gate of Chengwang Temple for days. You almost became a wild dog in Dongjian. It was the old tofu seller at the corner of the street. The man threw you a piece of hot tofu. Boy, do you want to learn how to grind tofu? You were crying and swallowing tofu. There was only one thought in your mind. If you can live, you can earn copper cash a day, marry a wife and have a baby. You will be satisfied. The old Jiang man taught carefully. Soak the soybeans until they are soft. Grind the snow-white paste at the end of the stone. The water should be sprinkled slowly. If it is too fast, it will become impurities. If it is too slow, it will turn yellow. You studied hard. Your palms blistered against the tools at night. You slept in the woodshed and listened to stories of demons and spirits, dreaming of the sound of copper coins falling. Half a year later, the old Jiang man lost his breath. You knelt in front of his tomb and bowed deeply. He left you the carrying pole with bamboo baskets on both ends. One end filled with fresh tofu, the other stuffed with cotton to keep warm. On your first day at the market, you lifted the pole and walked the streets. Your throat burned as you shouted, "Tender tofu! Fresh tender tofu!" The sun set, and there was still tofu left in the basket, soft and about to fall apart. You squatted by the wall, cursing your fate. If it spoiled the soybeans the old man left would be wasted. Then you remembered his words. Tofu that can't be sold can still live another way. Dry it under the sun until the water is gone. It becomes dried tofu and can last for weeks. Your eyes lit up. You ran back to the mill, cut the leftovers into cubes and spread them in bamboo baskets. Days later, the dried tofu hard and yellow and shining. You tasted a piece chewy. You added salt and pepper and tried to sell it as a snack for wine. You expected nothing. A scholar in green robes bought some, then more. That day you earned more than selling fresh tofu. You made extra batches, but not every day was kind. 1 month, rain fell without stopping. Dried tofu piled up in the house, mold spreading across it. You almost threw it all away. Then you smelled a strange fragrance inside the rot and remembered the jar buried in the yard, marinated tofu. You packed the fermented pieces into the jar, sprinkled salt, poured rice wine, and sealed it with mud. You feared poisoning someone and ending in jail. When you opened it later, the smell of wine rushed out. The tofu had turned red with threads of white silk. You spread a piece on steamed bread, spicy, rich, better than meat. You carried jars to market. Fermented tofu mixed with rice became a sensation. A wealthy household bought half a jar for their lady's porridge. Your name spread. Then came another accident. A batch of tofu turned sour, soft as mud. Furious, you kicked the barrel, but the smell stopped you strong, wild, tempting. You cut the sour tofu, buried it with salt, chili, and straw, feeding it rice water each day. When you opened it, the stench was overwhelming. Neighbors gathered anyway. "Give me a piece," they demanded. You fried it crisp outside, tender inside. Fragrant despite the smell, they bought everything. Soon half the street waited for your stinky tofu.
business boomed. And jealousy followed the butcher from West Street, smashed your stall, accusing you of stealing customers calmly. You offered him samples: dried tofu, fermented tofu, fresh fried stinky tofu. He tasted, his anger melted. He became a regular customer. You opened a corner shop, Zhangji Tofu House, 2 stone mills replaced 1 helper's work beside you. Fresh tofu, paper thin dried tofu, jars of fermented tofu for gifts, golden fried stinky tofu filling the air with its wicked perfume. The whole street could smell success. You married Lai Ishulian, the widow who used to buy tofu daily. She stood beside you packing orders, silver bracelet flashing at her wrist brighter than tofu curd. A tax collector once joked that you had squeezed oil from yellow beans. You laughed and poured him fermented tofu as a gift. At that moment, you understood humble soybeans, soaked and ground, sour and smelly or pure and soft. If you are willing to think and endure, you can grind life itself smooth as tofu. You touched the money in your pocket, looked at Lai Shulian's smiling eyes, and felt the old man had spoken truth. This tofu business was truly a treasure pot that never runs dry!